Have you always wanted to start your own podcast but don't know where to start? Don't have the right equipment? Don't have a place to host your new podcast? If this is you, then you probably haven't heard of Anchor. It's the easiest way to make a podcast. Let me explain how Anchor works. It's free. There's creation tools that allow you to record and edit your podcast right from your phone or computer. Anchor will distribute your podcast for you so it can be heard on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, and many more. You can also make money from your podcast with no minimum listenership. It's everything you need to make a podcast in one place. Download the free Anchor app or go to anchor.fm to get started. Whether you're a casual or well-rounded enthusiast, catch up with news, reviews, and more from around the circles of pop culture with us. This is Centaku Media, the axis of anime, gaming, and other otaku interests. Hey everyone, this is your host Sanjo of the Centaku Media podcast. This is episode 26, or rather season 3, episode 2 of the Centaku Media Journal. Thank you for listening to yet another episode, and also thank you for the influx of plays for episode 25, and it's, I think, the biggest plays in less than 2 weeks since the episode launch ever, with over 15 plays. I know it's like not much, but we're still a growing podcast, and even though this is our second year of recording, there's still a lot to be done, and I know this is really a hobby, but would like to make it like a passive skill in the future, and considering that this is actually our 15th year of operations under a new name, rather. I would like to basically catch up on the half of those 15 years we've missed, because we launched in 2007, and it originally started as Centaku May, and now we're under Centaku Media. There's a lot to do, and everything keeps changing. Like, the landscape keeps changing as far as like promoting stuff and technology and all that good stuff. But I know we're just a minute into the show, but I know that's like probably something you. Well, I know I hope someone out there enjoys my little ramblings and observations and stuff like that. But I know you want to hear what we have to talk about this week when it comes to anime, gaming, and more. So we are going to talk quite a bit this week about some anime, gaming, and all that good stuff. Some of the stories I'm going to talk about in this episode are actually from over the break that we had between our season finale and last week's episode. Some of it didn't make the cut, so there are a couple of stories we can talk about. You'll know when you hear it. You probably heard them before, but I kind of would like to revisit it because, it serves as a refresher as to, oh yeah, that happened, and then some stuff that were like, yeah, this was bound to happen. So that's why they're included in this episode. Normally I try to have no more than 3 news stories per section, per interest, so it's going to be 4 for 4 this episode, so it's going to be a little long, and also there will probably be a publication delay as well, because it's actually Tuesday night as I record this, and normally I try to get the episode out by Wednesday, no later than Wednesday afternoon. Actually, as of this season, I'm going to try to publish them later in the day, as apparently episodes posted later in the day helps, apparently, so we're going to try that for all of the season. But anyway, I think that's all I got to talk about. Oh yeah, some other plugs before we begin. So we do have a Discord server. Not much going on there now, but you can help us grow it by going to centakumedia.com/Discord, and then you will get an invite link to join our server. We actually added some categories. We added a show and tell category where if you want a purchase that you want to share with everyone, you can post your pictures there. We also have a gaming OSTs channel where you can just share your favorite game tracks from wherever you come from, like YouTube or SoundCloud. And also, we have our advertisement category, which I know this is kind of a double-edged sword here. So, I do want to open up the server for people to promote their Twitch streams and any other media they have, especially when it comes to anime-related stuff. I know, like I said, it's probably going to be abused at some point, but right now, since the server's so young, I'm going to give everyone the benefit of the doubt. So, be sure to check us out and be sure to gloss over the rules. It's not really any rules, but it's mostly common sense rules. So I hope you enjoy your stay there. So again, it's centakumedia.com/discord. The link will be in the episode show notes. Also, don't forget our socials. We're on Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, Twitch, and also TikTok. So we do have a TikTok now, so be sure to look up Centaku Media on TikTok. Got a couple of gaming recaps from our Twitch streams as well, featuring Breath of the Wild. As of late, we do have some handful of Persona 5, and there's a whole bunch I haven't published yet. I'm kind of still testing the waters as to what works and stuff and how I want to organize everything. So I plan on having a variety of content on there at some point. So also YouTube, which can be found at Centaku Chan. So YouTube's as well. And I keep putting stuff on there, but it'll happen sometime this year. I assure you that we'll get something up there. And also, we do plan on publishing all of Season 2 of the Centaku Media Journal, Season 2 on Twitch. And also, I don't know if I ever said that. Oh, no. So, no. Before we go on to our news, we do have some big news. So, our Twitch channel is finally under affiliate status. And I want to thank you all so much for making this happen. And it's been 2 years in the making. It's been a little too long, but it was a stroke of luck that we actually ended up getting that status. And I want to thank also a group on Discord called the Shadow Stream Supporters. And they are a Discord group of small streamers that support other small streamers. And I know this is, I know people kind of a little iffy about support for support groups, but when you think about it, I think they're more rare compared to the follow groups. Because if you follow people, you're just going to get inflation of your followers. But support for support, I feel like there's some actual, at least with this group I'm in, it feels like there's some genuine interaction going on here. So I recommend checking them out. I know it's not for a lot of people, but I totally recommend checking it out if that's, if this is like one of the first groups you want to consider, especially as a small Twitch streamer. So
you've listened to the podcast, now read a blog. Check out the rest of Centaku Media, which features news, reviews, and observations written with a unique approach, catering to like-minded fans of anime and related subcultures. We love anime, but we also share beyond because we're in the center of other otaku media. If this is your mood, please follow along. Check out Centaku Media in the link of the show page or go to centakumedia.com. Be sure to follow us on Twitter, Instagram, and Facebook at Centaku Media.
Our first news story to kick off our anime news segment, we got a lot of we got a lot of Gundam related stories to talk about, but technically these are also Sunrise related, but also not Sunrise or no longer known as Sunrise related. So the point is that the studio we all know and love that were behind Cowboy Bebop, Gundam, Wolf's Rain, Eureka 7, and I think Kogias. So yes, you as of today you could call them the studio formerly known as Sunrise. But we're gonna get into that here in a little bit. But we're actually gonna go and talk about some Gundam first. So the studio formerly known as Sunrise, their Gundam.info website, released information on the upcoming Kukuru Stones Island anime film, which is actually due out on June 3rd of 2022. So Gundam.info revealed the cast, the story, and the date for Mobile Suit Gundam Kukuru Stones Island, or actually known in Japan as Kuro Senshi Gundam Kukuru Stones no Shima anime film. So it's going to be character design and the animator is going to be in charge. I know that's grammar. I'm sorry. We're going to start over again. Chief animation director and character designer Asushi Tamura drew the below illustration to celebrate the announcement of the opening date. And you can find this link on Anime News Network's website in the show notes. So the cast that we have here that will be voicing the character. So Amuro will be voiced by the legend Toru Furuya. And also Bright Noah, he's voiced by Ken Narita. And for those that are out of the loop, the original voice actor for Bright Noah passed away about 14 years ago, I believe. But Ken Narita is the current voice of Bright Noah in any iteration that involves Bright, including the upcoming Hathaway's Flash movie, the second part at least, whenever that comes out. Alright, moving on. So we got Satomi Arai as Mirai Yashima, Toshio Furukawa as Kai Shiden, Hideki Takanishi as Hayato Kobayashi, Tomofumi Ikisoe as Segler Law. I butchered that up probably, but Slugger Law. Here we go. But this for a refresher as to what this is about. So this is actually not a new Gundam movie. Well, it's actually a movie retelling of an episode of Mobile Suit Gundam that actually got axed by the creator of Gundam because he just didn't like the quality of it. So yeah, Tomino didn't like this, and he said, "No, we're not even gonna re-air this on DVD." That's how bad it was. But at some point, they made a manga of it, and apparently the manga went on for a while. I guess it's not like a weekly thing. I think it's like a quarterly thing. You know how they ever publish books like this. But anyway, just to give you an idea of it, so it's set after the Federation defense of Jaburo, with the Federation planning to renew offenses on Sion's invasion headquarters in Odessa. Amuro and the White Base head to Belfast to resupply, but the White Base receives new orders to head to the Island of No Return to search and destroy any Sion stragglers. Amuro set out on the island in search of Sion spies, but a group of children in a Saku mobile suit on a supposedly uninhabited island. With the Gundam left behind, Amuro encounters a man who calls himself Kukuru Stone. After uncovering the secret of the island, Amuro attempts to make his way back to the Gundam to escape. So the manga creator of this anime adaptation, and who's also the animator of this, is Yoshikazu Yasuhiko. He's also directing this film, and he's credited with the character designs along with Atsushi Tamura, who's also involved with Weathering with You. And also there's Tsukasa Kotobuki, who was also involved with Mobile Suit Gundam The Origin and Saber Marionette J. Yasuhiko had revealed in June that he was working on an unannounced anime film. Ka-Hee-im is credited as assistant director. Toshiso Nemoto, who was involved with Malcars Delta, is penning the script. Longtime Gundam mechanical designers Kunio Okawara, Hajime Katoki, and Kimitoshi Yamane are credited for the mechanical design in the film. Takayuki Hattori of The Origin is composing the music as well. And we also have Yuji Kaneko as the art director, Nagisa Abe, the color key artist, Takeshi Kasurayama, and Ryo Ijima are composing directors of photography. Shuhei Morita, CGI line director, Morihito Abe, the CGI director, Nasuhiro Nii, and who's at editing, and Sadayoshi Fujino as the sound director. So, yes, this is a retelling of the 15th episode that oh my gosh, there's like so many people out there that just, the first person you think of when you think of something you go to. But no, Nomura, wrong franchise, definitely not anime related, but Tomino, that's what I meant to say. I guess that end part, Tomino, Nomura, I guess I got confused there, but yes, this is the thing that Tomino did not want. Oh my gosh. So, I don't know. I do have a Tomino. No, wrong way. And this will not be edited. I'm just going to leave it in there because I ran into that trap. But I do have a Nomura related story here later in the episode. But yes, Tomino did not want any part of this in the future. But now we're going to get a proper explanation of what happened in that episode and HD 4K and all that nice stuff. So be sure to look forward to it June 3rd when it comes out. I'm looking forward to it, even though it's kind of, I would rather have more Hathaway at this point. But actually, speaking of Hathaway, we're going to talk about that right now. So, this was actually a story that didn't make the cut. Well, not really make the cut, but I guess it was more of news worth saving for right now. For a traditional episode of the journal. And this is about the, I guess, how would you say it? The, potential release date of part 2 of Hathaway's Flash. So, I was really big about Hathaway's Flash in last season's episode. I even have a 5-minute review in that episode, and I'm actually going to link to that in the show notes. But actually, what I need to do, though, I need to, cut that out separately and then upload it as well, so that way you don't have to listen through the whole episode, you can just listen to it as is. But Hathaway, you can watch that on Netflix, by the way. They commented about made a comment about the potential release date for part 2. But let's start from the beginning. On Crunchyroll story, which was reported back in early December of 2021, they had a special event to celebrate the release of the 4K Ultra HD edition DVD Blu-ray of Hathaway, and it was held in Tokyo on December 2nd. And the studio formerly known as Sunrise producer Naohiro Ogata commented on the current status of the highly anticipated second part's production and release schedule on the stage. So from reports by Mountain Web and Oricon News, the next stage of the story is in Australia, but due to circumstances as of the past 2 years, it's been difficult to visit there to cover material for the production. So now the director, who is Shuko Murase, is using a flight simulator to fly over Australia. When asked about the timing of its release, Ogata refrained from stating, the next Olympics. It may not even be around Paris, which is 2024, but it'll be completed before the 2028 Olympics in Los Angeles. Wah, wah, wah. I really hope it doesn't be that long personally. But the tentative title for part 2 was announced as Son of Broito, or son, or okay, so it could be son as in son or daughter, or sun as in sun or moon, but also either one of those can be son of bright. So, of course, okay. So, spoilers, not spoilers, a little bit. So, Hathaway is the son of Bright Noah. So, this can be interpreted, 2 ways, as Hathaway being the son of Bright, but also I'm guessing Hathaway is the son in his life. You get the idea. So, yeah, Ogata said it means son and son. Since it's written in katakana, it can be taken many different ways. So, I hope you'll be able to wait while mentioning it. Or you could just read a novel. I'm not going to go into that. But anyway, the trilogy is based on the novel by Tomino, released back in 1989. So, part 1, when it was released, it grossed 2.2 billion yen, or also 19.27 million USD from its domestic run to become the second top grossing anime, Gundam film, only behind Encounters in Space, which was part 3 of the original trilogy released back in 82. So, again, be sure to catch it on Netflix. If you want to catch it right now. But I do need to get it on DVD because, I know digital is the thing now, but I still prefer my physical copies. But now, the next story we're going to talk about is why I keep calling Sunrise as a studio formerly known as Sunrise. So that is because as of this year, actually when? Okay, and this is, you can say this is an early April Fool's joke, but it's kind of, I guess, it's going to be kind of weird moving forward. I mean, it's only February that we're talking about this, but it won't come into effect in April. I think that's the beginning of the fiscal year for a lot of these companies, especially in Japan, because I know Square Enix, their fiscal year, I think, ends in March or begins in March or something like that, I guess. But anyway, so the studio formerly known as Sunrise will, as of April 1st, 2022, will be known as Bandai Namco Filmworks. So Bandai Namco Filmworks is a little brief history lesson. So, I think it was about 15 years ago that Namco, or rather Bandai and Namco, they created a merger and they became as Bandai Namco Games. But that was only for the games division, and for further notice, everything was going to be, like Bandai. They want to keep the Bandai name for a lot of anime stuff. So, but any game that is Namco or Bandai related, they will always have the Bandai Namco Games logo. But now I think it's about due time that they use the Bandai Namco Games for a lot of their anime endeavors as well. So this has like been over 50 years for Sunrise being known as who they were originally. And yeah, I was right. So Cowboy Bebop Code Geass. Wasn't sure about Code Geass, but apparently Gintama 2 and also the Love Live franchise. So they will begin restructuring as Bandai Namco Filmworks on April 1st. And there's also a new logo as well. And it's not like the Bandai Namco Games logo, but the link to this will be in the show notes, but this is to describe it to the listeners. There's a comic book bubble. This is a long bar, but the borders are in red, and in the middle it says Bandai Namco in like, I want to say Roboto font or something. I don't know, but I'll let you check it out here in the show notes. But the restructuring comes as Sunrise consolidates itself into White Base, which is also an interesting code name they've used here. A brand new office building where the entire anime production company will be under the same roof as for the first time ever. All of the Sunrise Studios, which will come under the new Bandai Namco Filmworks name, Bandai Namco Pictures and Sunrise Beyond started to move into the Okikubo studio on October 2021, with Sunrise Music, a subsidiary of the studio, scheduled to move sometime in June of 2022. What will once be known as Sunrise is merging with Bandai Namco Rights Marketing, a division of Bandai Namco Arts, who works on the video side of Bandai Namco Holdings to become Bandai Namco Filmworks. Wow, mouthful there. The Sunrise brand may continue past this date, but the company and all its assets will come under the new umbrella. Sunrise's Sunrise Music subsidiary will be merged with Bandai Namco Live Creative and become Bandai Namco Music Live on April 1st. Sunrise's current president and representative director Makoto Asanuma will continue on the same role as Bandai Namco Filmworks, with Bandai Namco Arts president Satoshi Kono becoming the vice president of the company, and Bandai Namco Rights Marketing current president Yoshitaka Tao will be the managing director of the new studio. A spokesperson for Sunrise commented on the change, saying, "The individuality of Sunrise, which we have refined over the past 40 years, shall continue to grow as one of our key brands. However, we also want to create a new distinctive identity with a different shade. The new changes will all come into effect on April 1st, the same day as the Japanese business year starts." I was right. In the previous announced date for the company, corporate changes in Bandai Namco. So, if you didn't understand the first time, but after the 20 times I've said it, that Sunrise will become Bandai Namco Pictures. So, that has kind of a change there. So people saying, what happened to Sunrise? Where are they? But no, they're still the same company, same people. But I guess it was a long time coming. I don't know why they didn't do this from the beginning, but I'm guessing they were still like trying to ease into the thought of being under Bandai Namco, even though this took place like at least over 15 years ago. Also, one other thing I just thought of too, you know how I guess it was the same with Square Enix at the time. You know how back in the day they were Squaresoft, and then they had their own issues, and then Enix, they eventually merged with Square to become Square Enix, and I think even then they were kind of cautious about a lot of things. But there was some things too that couldn't be helped, and I know the biggest one I remember is the DigiCube closing. So DigiCube, for those that don't know, they were the biggest publisher. I guess it was a third-party publisher, or I'm guessing they had like a contract alongside Square to release soundtracks, a lot of the soundtracks for Final Fantasy. So they used to be the biggest distributor of the Final Fantasy soundtracks, but when they went out of business, people were concerned that what's going to happen to all the Final Fantasy soundtracks that were released, because there's just way too many of them, and that would be a tragedy if no one was going to re-release them. But Square Enix eventually created a music division. So all that was saved. So now we got Square Enix Music. And then, of course, Square Enix, eventually they created a manga division, which when they got Shonen Gangan, which was where Fullmetal Alchemist appeared in. That was like one of the that's like one Square Enix manga series you can think of, and you forgot that. Oh wait, that's right, Square Enix was involved with that one way or another. But yeah, there's that, and then you also have something else. Oh yeah, so not really Square Enix, but you also don't forget Eidos. They used to be their own company, but Square Enix purchased them, and now we have Tomb Raider and Hitman under the Square Enix umbrella, and that is weird. That is so weird. So, like, whenever Square Enix has some kind of event, like the past 4 years, 5 years, now that I've realized that Eidos is part of Square Enix, whenever they have, like, these special digital events or anything at E3, chances are it's probably going to be more of the Eidos part of Square and not Square itself. So, yeah. So, chances are it's probably going to be Tomb Raider or Hitman related. So, but yeah, that's like some of the things you don't realize too. Like some companies are trying to slowly ease into a lot of things. So I'm guessing Bandai is one of them. And then also, yeah, actually this is a good segue. Actually, no, it's not a segue yet. This is actually going to be gaming related. I'm not talking about gaming. I mean, I'm talking about gaming. I'm talking about anime still, but this is actually going to segue officially into gaming. But we've got one more anime related news story we're going to talk about. And this is about Adult Swim. So this was actually early January that it was reported. It didn't make the cut, but again, I think this is something we can talk about in passing about a lot of things too. I guess moving forward for the new year, especially with some new series that have aired on Toonami recently. So, entertainment news website Variety published a list on December 30th of 2021, ranking television networks on the basis of their viewership of that year. Adult Swim's viewership dropped 25% to 386,000, while Cartoon Network's viewership dropped to 26%, or to 201,000. I hope I said that right. Adult Swim ranked number 41 on the list, while Cartoon Network ranked number 72. Disney XD's viewership additionally fell 13% to 83,000. The top three networks were CBS with 1,574,000 viewers and NBC with 5,484,000 viewers. ABC finally with 4,077,000 viewers. Cartoon Brew additionally reported that Adult Swim's viewership has dropped by 71.3% since 2014. That's actually a huge drop. Cartoon Network's viewership has dropped by 79.3% in the same time frame. Variety also ranked the top television networks amongst the 49 age demographic. The Adult Swim ranked number 20 on the list with 224,000 viewers, seeing a fall of 28%. Warner Media announced a reorganization of its divisions in March 2019, and that brought many of its subsidiaries and brands, including Otter Media, Elation, which is, I believe, the parent company of Crunchyroll. Yeah, I believe that's Elation is, I think, Crunchyroll, right? Anyway, Cartoon Network, Adult Swim, and Boomerang into a single global kids and young adults unit. And also, the company announced on April 23rd that it united the Adult Swim and HBO Max and adult animation development teams, and it's appointed Susanna Marcos in an expanded role as the executive vice president of original comedy and adult animation for both brands. So a lot of this is, well, depending on how you see it, unfortunately or just fortunately, not surprising. Unfortunately, if the ratings keep dropping, then, Adult Swim could cease to exist, and Cartoon Network as well. But also, you gotta think about it, it's 2022, and we're at the age now where we're pretty much looking towards VOD content, or, dare I say, that P word, that one P word that basically you get something free of charge, and you know what that means. But anyway, so we got VOD content to look forward to, and you got so many of these services to look forward to. Like, you got HBO Max, and then you got the Crunchyroll, and then you have Netflix, and you just got every single thing. You might as well be paying for cable again. But here's another issue too, it's just that cable is just not what it used to be as well, because cable channels are like struggling. Not really struggling. I know I'm being a little over dramatic, but just nothing to watch on cable anymore, and pretty much the only media entertainment rally going to get us from these VOD services or even YouTube. And Adult Swim too, their programming has been kind of, lackluster in the past, decade. And I know I'm sure, the only biggest thing on Adult Swim right now is Rick and Morty. And I know, some people like it. I'm not really into Rick and Morty, so don't hurt me. Please don't hurt me. I know I've been told I should watch it, but I'm just, don't have the patience for it right now. And I barely have the patience for, Family Guy anymore. And, I still enjoy it sometimes, but just a lot of stuff going on. It's I'll watch something else I can just get into. But yeah. So Adult Swim and Toonami, Toonami was the biggest thing too. People worry about Toonami, Toonami can go away again, if something happens to Adult Swim due to the low ratings. But again, you also have cable. Cable. I think I was trying to go into this, but I keep skipping over it. But the point is that people are not willing to pay for cable. What's the point of paying for it if you're not going to get what you want? It's nothing really worth watching anymore, and you can save a lot of time by just getting using a streaming service. So yeah, there's a lot of factors that go into this, and again, I'm not surprised that ratings are low as it is. So yeah, the biggest when you think about the biggest biggest show on Adult Swim currently, I believe it's Demon Slayer, right? So that's one big one. And then also, as of this month, Shenmue the animation is airing as well. So I totally recommend checking it out. And also, if you go to our Discord server, centakumedia.com/Discord, I posted on Twitter a live blog of the first episode of Shenmue the animation on Crunchyroll. So you can watch it on Crunchyroll. It's the sub on Crunchyroll, but the dub is on Adult Swim. I think it's exclusive to Adult Swim for right now. But if you want to check out what the first episode's about, be sure to hit up that link in the Discord. It's a lot easier to find it in the Discord because I know you have a sea of posts on my Twitter account that you don't want to see. So I think it'd be easy if I just refer to the Discord. And also, you should totally join and get to talking and get to help grow the community. So, just saying. Anyway, that is it for anime news. Alright, so for our gaming news, we have something that was also a runner-up of our recap from episode 25 that didn't make it in that episode. But this one, actually, when I read it, I'm I knew this was coming, and I actually have personal, I guess, if lack of a better word, disdain towards this one thing. But I figured it'd be worth talking about because it was what's weird that a lot of people were talking about it the first week, and then they just stopped talking about it. But now you'll know why it is the way it is now. So the next story we're going to talk about is a software that a lot of live streamers use, and it's called Streamlabs. So this software in particular used to go by Streamlabs OBS or SLOBS or OBS. This was short, but when you look at it, it looks like slobs. So I guess that's what you think of what this group are a bunch of slobs, because they had to stop using OBS in their software name because it's actually the OBS actually stands for Open Broadcast Software, which is actually the base software. OBS is a base software of everything that makes slobs what it is. So OBS itself is open source, so it's free to use and it can be adapted to whatever all that good stuff with open source software. But apparently, Streamlabs for some reason added OBS in their name, so now people are gonna say OBS or SLOBS or slobs, and then I've even seen people what's the difference between OBS and SLOBS? Are they the same thing? Well, they do look and operate similarly, but in my personal experience, I never really liked slobs because it takes up a lot of system resources, and also if you try to transform your windows and stuff, to basically make everything fit the screen, or just try to reposition it to where you need it to be, it's always in a fixed position, and I could I could achieve what I wanted in OBS, but not in slobs. And again, like I said, it just takes a lot of system resources, so I was never really a fan of slobs. But I'm going to get down to why OBS, SL, slobs or whatever had to remove OBS. So, the Twitter account for the live streaming software Lightstream accused rival streaming software maker Streamlabs of stealing marketing copy from its website after Lightstream tweeted about how Streamlabs' website's text was modeled on its own. Other companies began to corroborate with their own negative experiences with Streamlabs. Among those were the makers of OBS, a widely used streaming application which accused Streamlabs of using the name OBS in the release of its own, Streamlabs OBS, without permission. And earlier today, Streamlabs announced that it will be removing OBS from Streamlabs OBS. Well, earlier that day when the story came out, which was, I believe, back in early November. So, anyway, the software is based on the open source OBS code, and one difference between the free OBS is that Slobs offered paid services and even partnered with a lot of popular Twitch streamers such as Pokimane and Hassan Abi. But according to OBS and the software, as I said, that was open source, Streamlabs reached out if they could use the name OBS. OBS says that after asking Streamlabs not to do so, the company did it anyway and filed a trademark for Streamlabs OBS. As a result, many people began to confuse Streamlabs OBS and OBS. But even like people in the gaming community had no idea that the companies didn't have any affiliation. And so even a lot of people rallied against Streamlabs and told everyone, don't use Streamlabs, which I was way ahead of them. Seriously, I was way ahead of them. Like, after having experience firsthand with the software. And I said, even Streamlabs users have pointed out that the software uses interface designs that make it harder or more recently seemingly impossible for users to cancel their paid services. Also, shortly before Streamlabs announced the name change, the company was under a lot of scrutiny from Pokimane, Hassan, and Brandon Stennis, or Iron Brandon, and Dylan Sainer, or 8-Bit Dylan, and even his ex-CIA whistleblower, Edward Snowden, weighed in to express dissatisfaction with Streamlabs' business practice. And they even said Streamlabs themselves, at the end of the name change tweet, the company stated, "We take responsibility for our actions and will support the community." So, as of right now, everything is a Streamlabs. So, also, one other thing to note, there's another software streaming service called, well, they're not really a software service, they do have an add-on for OBS, and it's called Stream Elements. So, Stream Elements, they used to have an add-on for OBS, or rather, they still have it, but no, after this, they actually had to rebrand a part of it too. So, Stream Elements use OBS Live. So basically, it had a lot of Stream elements that you can put into OBS without having to go to their website. So that we had the immersive experience of using Streamlabs in OBS. But after all that happened, they had to rebrand to SE Live, which was for the better. But no, Stream Elements is actually way better, and I totally recommend them for those that are looking for some streaming solutions as well. But definitely OBS Studio, I totally recommend it. And I know it's overwhelming at first, but do look at tutorials for how to use its features and stuff. And also there are very useful add-ons as well, some add-ons that, really change the game for when it comes to streaming or recording or for whatever purpose you need OBS for. So definitely check them out. There's some useful services that Streamlabs offer. They do have CrossClip, which I personally use, and CrossClip, just to give me an idea of what it does, it basically takes your Twitch clips and transform into TikTok format videos or YouTube Shorts videos. So that way, in case you don't have time to edit them, you can just it'll point you to where you need to edit it and to make it into TikTok format, and you just compile it, and boom, you got it. And if you get the free version, it leaves a watermark, but they do have a subscription, which I think is $5 a month, and I totally recommend it if you're trying to just get some quick videos out there. And I know, like, I personally prefer editing so I can get, a feel of how things work. And, in case I need to make a huge project in the future, I can. But there's some days where I'm like, you know what, I'm just going to take this and make a quick clip and boom, it's up on a TikTok or whatever. So totally recommend checking them out. So Cross Clip, definitely worth checking out. That is a Streamlabs product. I do use it regularly, so yeah, so definitely. Anyway, moving on. So we do have that one story I was talking about that accidentally referred to Tetsuro Nomura instead of Yoshiyuki Tomino. So this is new information concerning that Stranger of Paradise Final Fantasy Origin game, and that was the game that was all the rage, so to speak, like literal rage, back in E3 of 2021, and it's actually a game that's under the direction of Nomura, but we have a new trailer for this out, and it's again, just a reminder, apparently it's not a remake or nor is a prequel. And this year, actually, they point out that this year marks the 35th anniversary of Final Fantasy. But apparently it's an interpretation of the classic role-playing game's time-looping story. And so apparently this final trailer that was released back in January features music of Frank Sinatra, and it hints at its emotional and tragic stakes. I said mistakes, but it says stakes. But the point of the story is that players will experience the story from the perspective of Jack and his allies, believing themselves to be prophetic warriors of light, infamously on a mission to kill Chaos, the final boss of the original Final Fantasy. There's much about Jack and his fellow wannabe warriors of light that remains a mystery going into Strangers of Paradise, and a new trailer for the upcoming game due in March adds more mystery. Actually, I didn't realize how soon it was. Possibly some new hints about how Jack and company's mission to kill Chaos will turn out. So, some other tidbits about this is that the developers have already essentially spoiled one component of the game. And Jack is actually an important character from the Final Fantasy game. And just for the sake of the spoilers, I'm not going to get into it, but yeah, it's kind of, it's very spoilery. I'm just going to skip over this. If you want to check it out, be sure to check out the story from Polygon's website, which will be on the show notes. So anyway, Jack's allies may also represent the famous fiends that players face in Final Fantasy and will face in Stranger of Paradise. And the latter game's new trailer shows 3 of them, Kraken, Lich, and Marylith, in action. And the 4th, Tiamat, was previously revealed, but Tiamat has been in other Final Fantasy games as well, including 14. But there's also a mini interview here that was with the producer Jin Fujiwara. He sat down with Polygon in an interview where he says the game is created so that you don't have to necessarily be familiar with the original first Final Fantasy. So basically, when you think about it, it's like a quick rundown of just what the Final Fantasy game is about, because it's been 35 years, and with Final Fantasy 14 being the biggest, cash grab for Square right now, I think that would be like the style of it would be, I guess, the best way to get people introduced to it. Anyway, he said that if you do have an understanding of the original title, it might help kind of expand the lore that you're familiar with. We have our heroes who believe that they are the warriors of light, but they actually turn out to be like the enemy, Garland. When you're fighting the 4 different fiends, how they came about is going to be depicted in Stranger of Paradise. So I think it's not necessary, but it does allow for a deeper experience into the game. So anyway, that's one part of the interview, but be sure to check it out. It's kind of long, but again, if you want to check out for yourself, be sure to check out the interview on Polygon's website, and you can find that link in the show notes on centakumedia.com. But moving on, so we do have one sad news. Actually, this is kind of going back into the rebranding. Yes, this is actually going back to the company branding stuff that I was talking about with Bandai Namco. So this is actually called Sega, and again, this is really sad, and I guess it was kind of like expected, considering Sega closed down one of their iconic Akihabara arcades last year. And this one from the Crunchyroll article sings that the company Gigo has stepped in to purchase the remaining influence Sega has over the veteran business in Japan. And since the chairman of Genda, the company that currently owns a majority stake in Genda, Sega Entertainment, which runs the Sega arcade business in Japan, announced that Genda has purchased the remaining 14.9% of shares of Genda Sega from Sega to own 100% of the company. Because of this, Genda Sega Entertainment will be rebranded as Genda Gigo Entertainment, and arcades across Japan will lose the iconic Sega signage that has been in use for 56 years and rebranded as Gigo. According to the chairman's tweet, Gigo stands for Get Into the Gaming Oasis, hoping to entice people into a realistic gaming oasis. Sega confirmed back into November 2020 that it had sold off a majority stake of the arcade business to Genda while retaining a non-voting, non-controlling minority stake. The company allowed the new business to continue using the Sega branding and IP in the arcades to smooth over the transition, as well as retain customer loyalty. And so one of the first locations to be rebranded will be the new Ikebukuro store, and assuming the rest of the project, the Shinjuku arcades and what's left of the arcades in Akihabara, with the rest of the arcades to be rebranded in the future unspecified date. So going back to what Gigo stands for, Getting to the Gaming Oasis, I'm pretty sure this is not the same charm as Sega, but Sega, just a little history lesson for those that don't know, Sega stands for Sega Service Games. And yeah, Sega has been in business for that long, and I believe there's a video of it. I'm trying to say who did it. I think it was Saberspark. Saberspark did a video in the history of Sega. He talked about their downhill, I don't want to say spiral because it wasn't that bad, but they still, like, Sega's still in business, obviously, but of course, they had their heyday in the 90s with all the game consoles they released, or in the late 80s, but yeah, it stands for Service Games, and I believe that part of it has to start here in the US as well, but it's a very interesting look, and I'm actually going to link it in the show notes, and I do recommend checking out Saberspark. He does have some very interesting videos, especially when it comes to animation. Not just anime, he does like everything, not just anime, but he does like Western animation as well, and a lot of Pixar stuff and a lot of obscure stuff that makes you go like, what? And he does have a gaming channel called Saberspark64 that also goes into some deep dives of like the mobile gaming industry and all that, so definitely worth checking out. But also it's really sad to see everything Sega branded go, because it's actually the if you go to CentakuMedia.com, that's actually the image I chose to represent one of the arcades. Actually, I think the arcade is actually going back to the story. I think a part of it. No, I think that's a different one. But anyway, yes, there is a Sega arcade in that picture. As a stock photo that is from I forget the name of the website off the top of my head, but it is credited. But yes, it shows a Sega arcade, and I figured that would be perfect to define Centaku Media, since we just talk about not just gaming stuff, but anime as well, or vice versa. But anyway, yeah, so moving on to our story. So this last gaming story is actually kind of a mouthful, and that's probably going to be a pun intended here. So I had to get an article from Destructoid that basically runs down everything that was discussed during the February 2022 Nintendo Direct, and I actually forgot all about it, that it was happening, and I was just like maybe 10 minutes away before, like, I realized it was 10 minutes away before it actually started. So I said, okay, I'm going to watch it. So, these Nintendo Directs are like 45 minutes long, roughly. So, I went ahead and watched it all, and I was, impressed with a lot of stuff they announced this year. And actually, I'm kind of excited for the future, especially for one game publisher as well. But we're going to go and run over the recap of what Destructoid talked about during the Nintendo Direct. So, the biggest one, well, one of the biggest ones, we got a lot of big ones, but let me just start from the beginning. So we got Fire Emblem Warriors, and apparently there's a 3 houses setting, and a new version called 3 Hopes, which arrives on June 24th, 2022. And then apparently there's going to be an Advance Wars 1+2 reboot camp, which arrives on April 8th. The Infinite Void of No Man's Sky comes to the Switch this summer. Soccer is back in the style of Mario Sports spin-offs when Mario Strikers Battle League hits the net on June 10th. And apparently there's a Splatoon 3, but apparently there's a Summer 22 window, and alongside a new trailer, and they have a take on the co-op salmon run mode. So interesting. There's also a remake of the Front Mission games. So this one's coming out sometime this summer. And there's a Disney Speedstorm game which is coming out this summer, putting beloved Disney characters behind the wheel of their own cars. So basically Disney cards. So yeah, if you're a Disney fan, you got a card game on top of a Mario Kart game, which was actually discussed this week as well. But there's also some more ports coming out for the Switch as well. Actually, a lot of ports and remakes. I think this is kind of what won the Direct over. But one of them, the port in particular, is Star Wars: The Force Unleashed, coming on the Switch on April 20th, and then Assassin's Creed Ezio collection hits the Switch on February 17th, which is actually this week. And then we have actually, I'm disappointed that it's this version and not the version I prefer, but we're getting an SD Battle Alliance game that comes out on the Switch this year. And the reason I say reason I'm disappointed is because it's an SD Gundam game, and I know there's kind of mixed feelings when it comes to anything with SD Gundam, especially that one series that we had like 2 decades ago. So one of the games that were featured in the Direct is a Kirby game, and it's that one where Kirby is like covered over a car, and all you can see is this, he's basically trying to swallow a car, but he can't. But the game is called Kirby and the Forgotten Land, and that's coming out on March 25th. And we also have a new Taiko no Tatsujin game called Rhythm Festival, and apparently it has the Undertale song Megalomania. And Square Enix released a prologue demo for Triangle Strategy, and also if you download it now, you can play the first 3 chapters, and you can pick up from where you left off in the full game. And also there's MLB The Show, which features cover star Shohei Ohtani, which also appeared during the Direct presentation to introduce the game. And let's see, what else? We got the Portal Collection on the way, and Clona. Also, of course, there's Kingdom Hearts, but no one talks about the Switch version of Kingdom Hearts for a reason. Just don't buy it unless you want to just get like a Stadia version. I don't think they're going to make that anymore. Anyway, apparently there's a Cuphead game or DLC coming out called The Delicious Last Course. Metroid Dread is getting two new difficulty modes, Dread and Rookie, later. Well, it should be out now, because apparently it came out the day of the Direct. And also there's a Boss Rush mode due out in April. And we also have a sizzle reel of upcoming games: Zombie Army 4, Dead War, April 26th, Gesu Den Undying Moon is out now. Demon Slayer game comes out June 10th. Lego Brawl is coming in June, and 2 Point Campus on May 17th. Mario Kart 8 Deluxe has a whole bunch of updates coming out, and apparently there's a bunch of remastered Mario Kart courses coming to the Switch, which brings up to a total of 48. And also, one of the other things we have here is that Earthbound and Earthbound Beginnings is out now on the Nintendo Switch Online service. Not the expensive one, but your base service. So be sure to hit that up if you haven't played Earthbound before. And also, the biggest news, now we're going to come down to the biggest ones that were the talk of the Direct. So we are getting an official Western release of a game, RPG game called Live Alive, and it's coming out on July 22nd, because we've never gotten that before, and I've heard a lot about it. I'm like, interesting. So that's one big game everyone's looking for, is Live Alive. So I'm kind of interested to check that out. And also the next biggest one is Chrono Cross. Is also going to be getting a remake as well. Not a remake, but a remaster. These are gonna be remasters, I should add. But yeah, Chrono Cross is coming back. Actually, that's a game I missed out on. I'm really excited to see it again, and it's coming out on April 7th. And then we have, it's actually what? How many years has the Switch been out? I think it's been at least 5 years now, 4 to 5 years. But you know how the Wii had all those Wii Sports games? So we're finally getting a Switch sports game series, and that comes out April 29th. And I believe this week that they're having a online beta test that's only 2 days only, which is from February 18th to the 20th. So, otherwise, if that doesn't interest you, just check it out on the 29th of April. And apparently later this year, they're adding a golf mode, which I don't know why they're just not delaying and putting it in, then, but I don't know. Anyway, but they'll also have soccer and badminton here too for those that didn't get to play, or rather, those that play Wii Sports, they didn't get the chance to try out anything like this until now. So, I personally skipped out in the Wii era, Wii and Wii U era, so this is very new to me, and I'm actually looking forward to it. So, good deal. And also, I got, 2 more? How many more? Feels like I jumped ahead of myself. I talked about Chrono Cross, talked about Live Alive. Hold on. And I talked about Wii Sports. Okay, so the last big one here is the refuel of Xenoblade Chronicles 3. So that was the biggest news of it. So we don't know exactly when Xenoblade Chronicles comes out yet, unless they talked about it later, but we'll have more details of it when we get more information of it, or we'll just talk more about it next episode, because this episode I'm trying to get through as much of it as I can and try to keep as few stories down as possible. But also, it goes without saying that, no, we didn't talk about anything about Breath of the Wild 2, so that's for another direct. But, again, definitely worth to watch if you were able to watch a direct. I usually just catch it later, but this was, again, one of the rare times I was able to catch an exciting Nintendo Direct, and I really hope, well, this is just Nintendo we're talking about, but any other gaming companies this year, especially with E3, E3 this year I believe is canceled again due to COVID concerns, but I'm hoping let's say Square puts out a better show than they did last year, because I've talked about that episode following the E3 presentation that I took a nap. I literally took a nap. And I slept through the time that the Square Enix presentation aired, and then I looked on my feed reader and on Twitter, and basically people say, y'all didn't miss anything, and I'm like, yeah. And that was the day that Stranger of Paradise was announced. I'm like, are you kidding? That's all we getting? And then so disappointed. And I was both disappointed and relieved I didn't waste an hour where I actually got rest, so that was important. Getting rest is important, and putting through disappointment tenfold. But anyway. Yeah, so anyway, speaking of E3, actually, this whole experience with the Direct, and the fact that Square Enix is re-releasing Chrono Cross, for a new audience, I'm actually hoping that they re-release some of their older games, like, Brave Fencer Musashi and Musashi Samurai Legend, because Brave Fencer Musashi, I believe, was, one of my first, if not maybe second Square Enix games I've played ever, or Squaresoft games at the time. And speaking of which, I'm actually playing Brave Fencer Musashi on Twitch, which is a Saturday-only deal. So if y'all want to check it out, be sure to hit up the Twitch channel. But definitely, I hope that's a game that they re-release for a new generation, remaster it, and even re-release Musashi Samurai Legend. And also, something I forgot is that Nomura was involved with the character design for Musashi Samurai Legend. So when I looked up the game, I'm like, wait, why does he look like a Kingdom Hearts / The World Ends With You character? I'm like, oh yeah, that's right, it's Nomura, of course. I should have known. But I hope that's a game that Square Enix considers in the future. I think Brave Fencer Musashi will be a good fit for the Switch as well, especially for the younger players, as I think it was meant for kids at the time, and I was that age when I played it. So I really hope Square considers that for their next remaster release. So yeah, so definitely a lot of news there, so I'm really excited about that. So I hope you are too. So with that said, we are going to conclude our gaming news, and go into our entertainment news, which is our last segment of this episode. We got a lot of stories to talk about from here as well. Our next story, and the first one of our entertainment news, is actually kind of exciting, but also at the same time bittersweet, I guess. And not really bitter. Well, I guess I don't know how to feel, because it's about a K-pop group that is actually my go-to group, and they have been under some crazy drama in the past about 4 years now, especially in the past. Well, yeah, I think that's about the length of time that's been going on, but it involves Big Bang. So Big Bang, back in 2020, they were actually going to make a huge comeback, and they were going to perform at Coachella before the pandemic struck a nerve with everyone, and everything had to be canceled or postponed. But this also comes with some unusual news, and this is going to be interesting moving forward. So Big Bang is making a comeback in 2022. However, TOP is no longer signed with YG Entertainment. So the thing is that even though he's no longer with YG anymore, he is going to pursue solo activities as well. So I'm really excited to see what he has planned for the future as a soloist rather this way. But depending on his schedule, he is still going to be involved with group activities as a 4-member group with Big Bang. So Big Bang, though, 4 members. Yeah, so thing with Big Bang now is that one of the members who's not even in the group, not allowed to come back in the group anymore, and is not expected to come back with YG or enter the entertainment business ever again, is Seungri. So Seungri, there was that big drama that happened about, I think back in 2019, I believe it was it's like beginning of 2018. It was a whole that rising sun or burning sun scandal. Where prostitution was involved. I believe we had a story about that too in one of our episodes in the past, and also it was talked about. We all talked about one of his traumas on the blog. We reviewed YG Future Office Strategy or Future Business Strategy Office or whatever it was called. That's a Netflix show that I think it's still on Netflix, but I know considering the circumstances, it's like we don't talk about that show, but it kind of foreshadows with how Seungri is. I think it was meant to be fun, and like looking back now, I'm like, oh shit, does he actually mean this shit? But he was sentenced back about mid to late last year of 2021 to 3 years in prison, but it wasn't until recently he had his 3-year sentence cut in half to 18 months. So that's basically, obviously half of his sentence he was given. And he also was fined 1.16 billion won, or about roughly $1 million, 964,000 to be exact in US dollars. And apparently his discharge is currently on hold, and he was indicted in January 2020, and on August 12th, that's when he was sentenced. But even only half a year in, August, September, October, so roughly half a year in of his sentence, he already get his sentence reduced. So this will be interesting moving forward. But as far as Big Bang's comeback is concerned, it'll definitely be interesting, considering that they've been going for so long and under these circumstances presented. And YG has also been in turbulent. They've been in damage control as well, because I guess considering their association with Big Bang and just how Blackpink in particular is it's a mess for YG. That's why I'm like, this will be interesting. So I'm excited for Big Bang's comeback. I'm also kind of skeptical of how YG is going to handle things moving forward, because the original YG founder is actually, I believe, serving prison time as well, Young Hoon Suk. So, Young Hoon Suk, yeah. But Yeah, so definitely interesting. So look forward to it, depending on how you feel. But anyway, so we're gonna move on. Those are actually two stories in one. I just went through in like a few minutes. So we already went through two stories. We're halfway there, y'all. So the next story was actually one that didn't make the cut from our uh recap show last episode, and this one is actually an interesting one. It's a we're gonna talk about a bag for the working class otaku. You can take to work into your anime and idol events. So the backpack is the story is on Sora News 24 or Rocket News 24 to some people, and it's actually a cool looking backpack. I mean, it looks looks like a bland backpack, but it's like you got your. It almost looks like one of those Ita bags, and Ita bags are those ones that have the clear window in it, and you basically put your like pins in it. They call it Ita bags because of the excessive amount of pins in it, and usually have like pins of your favorite anime character or just idol or whatever. So that's what they look like, but these look like they're canvas. Your basic fabric bags, and they're like in two different sections. And basically, what it does, it flips inside out. So you got your plain bag, but actually, oh no, it's actually is a Ita bag. So yeah, so from the cover, it looks like a luggage case. It's a backpack, but when you flip it inside out, it actually has your pins and stuff. So yes, it is definitely an Ita bag. So it's apparently they're called Oshitogo bags, which is a pun on the Japanese words Oshi, favorite character / idol, in Shigoto, work. It says it looks simple enough from the outside while in their work mode forms, but there's a clever trick, which is open up the zipper at the top and you'll immediately see 3 separate compartments, with one with a large central cavity sandwiched by 2 clear plastic sections. So basically, you take that top section out and then get zip it down to the bottom, and you got your Ita bag, your what they call otaku items display. So it's actually pretty clever there. So it's actually so apparently it's laptop safe, and it fits models with 15.6-inch screens, and it's also a mesh backing too, where you can attach pins without having to puncture the fabric, which is pretty cool. And the actual price is not bad. Apparently it's 4,280 yen, which is roughly about $40, give or take the the inflation and the exchange rate. And the backpack is actually at 5,980 yen, and it can be ordered through Illicom's online store. And it looks like this is Japan only, from what I understand. I wonder if at some point, I wonder if you can eBay these. Like, you can probably eBay these, but they're probably kind of questionable in quality. But yes, it looks like the website's Japan only. But I'm sure there's something that you can hack yourself to make it look like that. But they're actually marketing to people who are the working otaku. So, but yeah, that's a pretty good idea. So definitely, or rather, you can just no, that would defeat the purpose. But yeah, so anyway, yeah, good idea. So be sure to check that out if you happen to live in Japan, or you can, I guess, use a proxy service to order that. I don't know, but anyway, that's it for that story. We do have one more story, and this was something that was actually meant to be talked about in the last episode, and this is kind of, I guess, it's dipping back into Japanese entertainment. And at the end of the year, there are these year-end music show events in Japan. It's serious business, and one of them is called the NHK Kohaku Utagassen, and it's been going on for 72 instances now. It hasn't really been that long. 72. Yeah, so there's the 72nd annual NHK Kohaku Utagassen, and apparently it did terribly in the ratings this time around. So they consider this probably like a sign of the times, because apparently this time around, it says similarly a large chunk of late 30s, 50s crowds are ditching the Kohaku in favor of the sleeper hit variety that is TV Asahi's Sawasuku, but apparently NHK needs to fine-tune the lineup as to create greater competition from other broadcasters and online content to deal with. Also, one thing to note, and I had to find this, maybe it's something we could talk about in the next episode. Unfortunately, I don't have it with me this episode, but NHK apparently in Japan, they charge a broadcasting fee to people who have TVs, so they can watch TV, apparently. And I think I feel like BBC has this too, but I'm guessing this is like cable. So like, in the US, you get free antenna TV, right? But if you want to watch TV, you have to pay cable. If you want premium TV, you have to pay for cable. Alternatively, you can just, get it for free from unexplained source. But no, apparently NHK charged a fee just for NHK, and apparently someone got in trouble for trying to get around it. But apparently they were like, no, you still got to pay for it. So it was interesting, but yeah, that I feel like that's the reason why ratings dropped for NHK so much, because of that fee. And they're saying, well, we'll just go online. But then again, I think the Japanese music industry has kind of waned a little bit. And I feel like we've talked about this many times, like even on the blog and previous podcast episodes. This feels like I think people are tired of the Japanese music industry, because for the longest time it's been all about AKB48, and like it's just way too many of them. Stop it. And of course, they've had their share of scandals as well. Oh yeah, and I don't know if I've talked about this in the episode before we took a break. So there is a YouTuber who goes by Ploopy678, but her real name is Evangeline Pang. She did a video. She mostly covers K-pop artists, especially girl groups, and she does dance covers as well. But she did a video all about AKB48, and it's very interesting. And of course, it deep dives into the scandals of one of the members, and I believe it was I forgot her name, but it's the one member of AKB48 who had she shaved her hair. She basically did a bad, and usually Asian culture, when you shave your head off, it's usually a sign of being apologetic. And this is exactly what happened, and she did this because she was caught dating someone outside the group. Basically, and when it comes to idol groups, you're not allowed to date, but it covers stuff like that, but it also just covers why AKB48 is so big and complicated as it is, and it's no different from K-pop, apparently, because, you got people trying to buy every single copy of the CDs just to get to a high touch of it and all that stuff, but definitely worth checking out, and of course, you can check it out, the article out in the show notes. So, that is it for episode 26 of the Centaku Media Journal. Thank you so much for listening. And stay tuned for our next episode, which is due 2 weeks from whenever this episode's released. I don't think it will be out on time if you listen to this not on a Wednesday, but if you do listen to this, we made it. So, normally episodes are 2 weeks from each episode, so this episode should have been out on the 16th. So 2 weeks from the 16th is when the next episode drops, and also I'm hoping, fingers crossed, to get the next special episode out by the end of March. Besides Twitter, we do have Instagram and Facebook presence, which I know has kind of been laxed in past months, but we do have TikTok now, which we are kind of semi-active on, and also definitely on Twitch. Be sure to watch us on Twitch. We stream Thursday and Friday nights. Our main game is Breath of the Wild, and on Saturday we have Anything Goes Gaming, but right now we are on Saturday we are squeezing in a little bit of Brave Fencer Musashi with one random game at the beginning. So hope you enjoy, and that is it for this episode of the podcast, and I will see you next time. So long.